The middle class is literally on a deathbed. Meanwhile, the US government's debt has ballooned past $34 trillion, and not just the US government, but most countries around the world are now drowning in debt. And every time they borrow more, the cost of living quietly spikes, and it crushes the middle class. And right now, every dollar you're losing to inflation, every extra tax or interest you're paying is somehow linked with the debt your government has taken. Yes, your government racks up trillions in debt, and you pay the price. It's like your wealth is being sucked straight out of your pocket and funneled into the hands of the elite. By the end of this video, you'll see exactly how government debt is a silent force killing the middle class. I'll also explain how to prepare for your financial life, so you can protect yourself from the chaos. But before I get deep into this, please subscribe. Section 1. What is government debt? I'll explain what government debt is with a simple example. Imagine, if you earn $100 but spend $150, you will need to borrow that extra $50. That's exactly how governments operate. They collect money through taxes, but their spending is massive, like defense, salaries, pensions, mega projects, and yes, sometimes even wasteful stuff and luxuries that add up. The problem is, the collected tax money never covers all expenses. So, they borrow, and here's how they do it. 1. They sell bonds. 2. They borrow from other countries. 3. They go to big institutions like the IMF or World Bank for loans. Now, over time, all that borrowing piles up into what we call government debt. But the plot twist is that governments don't really pay it back by themselves. Instead, they quietly pass the cost on to you through higher taxes, through inflation, and through rising prices. And that's how a deadly trap begins. Section 2. Trap for the middle class. Let's get one thing straight. When politicians want to fund their favorite projects, wars, corporate bailouts, or oversized government programs, they don't dare raise your taxes right away, because that would be instant political suicide. Instead, they borrow the money and push the problem into the future. Because debt is an easy option, it lets them look generous and powerful today, while the real cost gets shoved onto tomorrow. And since politicians only think in short election cycles, later becomes your problem, not theirs. Remember Sri Lanka in 2022? The government had borrowed heavily for years to fund massive infrastructure projects and cover its deficits, assuming they could always pay it back later. But when the debt piled up too high and payments came due, the country defaulted for the first time in its history. The result? The currency collapsed, inflation skyrocketed, and the middle class faced severe shortages of food, fuel, and medicine. That's how brutal it can get. Now, the government basically traps the salaried class in 3 ways. Trap number 1, the inflation. Let me paint you a picture of what's really happening. When the government prints more money to cover its national debt, sliding all that new money in the system makes prices go up. That's when inflation happens. In such a scenario, the rich get richer because their assets go up in value too. Their real estate becomes more valuable, their stocks rise, and their businesses can charge higher prices than ever. But what about middle-class struggles? Well, nobody cares about it. Even their salary might go up a little bit, but nowhere near as much as everything else. So basically, they're losing purchasing power every single day. Like in 1970, the average house cost about $17,000. Today, that same house costs over $400,000. So the difference is clear that your grandparents could buy a house, raise a family, and save for retirement on one income. Today, even with everyone in the house working, most families can't afford the lifestyle their grandparents took for granted. And this was just one thing. The deeper we go, the more catastrophic it gets for regular families. Trap number 2, the rising taxes. So, as the debt gets bigger, the government needs more revenue, and they raise taxes. The rich people already have armies of accountants and lawyers who help them find every loophole in the tax code. They use offshore accounts, complex investment structures, and legal tricks to minimize their tax burden. Meanwhile, again, the middle-class families get hit with higher income taxes, property taxes, and sales taxes. This might be surprising that a report on Jeff Bezos revealed that his reported taxable income was only a small fraction of the billions of his total wealth. Yes, that's how the rich are escaping every single trap laid by the governments. Here's another way the middle class is getting robbed of their rights. Trap number 3, the services cut. They slash the services middle-class families depend on every single day. And while cutting your services, they're jacking up fees on everything else. Driver's license renewal, building permits, water bills, parking meters. Now everything costs more because they're desperate for revenue to service that debt. So basically, you pay more and get less. You fund the system through taxes, but when it runs short, they cut the services your tax dollars were supposed to provide. That's like robbing you without you even noticing it. So let's face the ugly truth. When government debt skyrockets, it doesn't just sit in Washington. It slides into your life. And that's how you are pushed to take more and more loans for your survival. Section 3. How the middle class is pushed into debt. U.S. household debt just hit an all-time high, $18.3 trillion by the second quarter of 2025. That's not government debt, that's personal debt. Now here's the breakdown. Mortgages eat up the biggest chunk, then come student loans, auto loans, and of course credit card debt, which is exploding, and all thanks to inflation caused by the government debt. And get this, nearly 90% of Americans carry some form of debt. That's basically everyone. So let's look at education loans, the education debt prison. Let me tell you what's coming for your children. The higher education costs are already crushing families. But what's coming next will make today's student debt crisis look like pocket change. Right now, the average student graduates with $37,000 in debt. But government spending keeps pumping money into education, which means colleges can keep jacking up prices. This means we're heading toward a world where sending your kid to college could cost more than buying them a house. Except unlike a house, a degree doesn't build equity. It just leaves them with a mortgage-sized debt strapped to their back before they even start working. And in this vicious cycle, the government makes sure your kids can never escape this debt. So, they've created a generation of debt slaves who will spend their entire working lives paying off education loans, unable to buy homes, start families, or build financial security. And then they talk about loan forgiveness programs that sound good at first, but actually make it worse by signaling schools to charge even more because taxpayers will pick up the tab. Next, I'll talk about the healthcare scam, the healthcare bankruptcy. Now, what's going to destroy middle-class financial security even more is the healthcare system. Healthcare costs are already rising 3 times faster than wages, and the cost to insure one family of 4 now tops $35,000 a year, which is almost 3 times higher than 20 years ago. And instead of controlling costs, the government just keeps borrowing money to pay whatever these companies demand. Now, what does this mean for your family? We're heading toward a system where basic medical care will cost more than most people make in a year. Cancer treatment that costs $100,000 today will cost $300,000. Having a baby will cost $50,000, and so on. Simple surgeries will bankrupt middle-class families even with insurance. In short, your insurance is going to become worthless because deductibles are already hitting $15,000 per family, but that's nothing compared to what's coming. Insurance companies know the government will keep propping up the system, so they can keep raising deductibles while charging higher premiums. And trust me, the government won't fix it. Instead, they'll keep borrowing trillions to fund a system designed to extract maximum profit from human suffering. Disgusting, right? But I am not done yet. Let me tell you what's even worse. The retirement apocalypse. Now, talking about retirement might be the most devastating thing of all, as we know it is about to disappear for middle-class Americans, and the weapon being used to kill it is the government debt policies. The trust fund will be depleted by 2034, which means benefits will be automatically cut by 23% unless Congress acts. And even if they fix Social Security, the benefits will be worthless because of the inflation caused by government debt. Think about it this way. If you're planning to retire on $2,000 per month from Social Security, that might sound reasonable today. But after 20 more years of government-induced inflation, $2,000 won't buy what $500 buys today. You'll be living in poverty, even with full benefits, and it gets worse with traditional pensions, which are almost gone, killed off by companies that couldn't compete with businesses in countries with lower labor costs, a direct result of trade policies funded by government debt. So, your 401k is getting destroyed by inflation and market manipulation, caused by the Federal Reserve's money printing to service government debt. This means that your kids would work until they die. There's no other option. Between student loan payments, unaffordable housing, crushing healthcare costs, and worthless retirement accounts, most Americans will never be able to stop working. And every politician knows this is coming. They have the data. They see the projections. But they keep making it worse, because fixing it would require admitting that decades of debt-fueled spending destroyed the retirement security of an entire generation. Section 4. Can you practically get out of this trap? The simple answer is yes, but first you need to understand how you can do this. Step 1. Emergency defense mode. Move your emergency fund out of regular savings into high-yield accounts or short-term treasury bills. At least earn something while inflation eats your cash. Keep 3 to 6 months of expenses in cash, but don't let the rest sit there getting destroyed. Step 2. Get into inflation-proof assets. Start putting money into things that rise with inflation. Index funds, REITs, commodities, even cryptocurrency if you can stomach the risk. The wealthy own assets, not cash. When they print money, asset prices go up. Be on the winning side. Step 3. Create multiple income streams. Understand one thing. Your job won't be enough to save you when inflation destroys your purchasing power. Start a side business, invest in dividend stocks, or learn skills that pay back. When one income source gets hit, you've got others keeping you afloat. So one thing is clear, that this system is especially rigged against the middle class, and government debt is the primary weapon they're using to rig it. The government won't stop printing money, but you can stop being their victim. So, don't let them steal one more day of your financial future, because your family's security depends on the actions you take right now. If this opened your eyes, share this with other people who need to understand what's really happening. Drop a comment and tell me. Are you feeling the squeeze? Has government debt affected your family's ability to buy a home, save for retirement, or build wealth? Because at the end of the day, the more middle-class families that wake up to this reality, the harder it becomes for politicians to keep getting away with it. Thanks for watching.